Hi folks, it's David O here in Karmiel. It's a little bit shady because it's later in the day today. It's the end of June. We're in summer now, the summer months. And soon in the US they're going to be celebrating July 4th, Independence Day, and Canada Day. These are days that are special, and they revolve around, I guess, patriotism. Patriotism in some ways is more out of style than it once was. But I think patriotism really should revolve around one of the most important mitos, one of the most important qualities we should all have. Patriotism should revolve around gratitude for what we have, what we're given. You know, the history of the United States and the history of Canada is an up and down history. There are many kind of negatives in the history, but overall, for the citizens of these countries, it is a very privileged life for all the citizens. And ingratitude is probably one of the most debilitating qualities a person can have. And gratitude for what it is that we do have is among the most uplifting and strengthening of all mitos, of all qualities, emotions we could have. So I think that, kind of like Thanksgiving in a way, that July 4th and Canada Day can serve this uplifting quality if we look around us and see how much it is that we are given in this world. How does it connect to this week's Parsha, Korach? Well, Korach, who was really royalty in many ways, was a Levite, but he was eaten away by envy of his cousins Moses and Aaron, the high priest. And he didn't feel that he was given a portion that was great enough. In fact, Moshe says to him at one point, he says, how can you not be joyous and satisfied? You're a Levite. You're part of God's selected group within the Jewish people. But Korach is a demagogue, and his goal is to unseat those who God has put into leadership. And his approach is, well, you know, if a room is filled with Torahs, does it really need a mezuzah? After all, a mezuzah is text from Torah, and if you have a room filled with them, you don't need it, right? If you're wearing a tallis, a prayer shawl, all made of techeles, of the holy blue thread, then perhaps you don't need it on your fringes. And this, of course, makes sense in his argument if you say, well, the Jewish people are all holy. What makes you special? Why do we need your family, you and your brother, to be the leaders? Just like we shouldn't need techeles, and just like we shouldn't need a mezuzah, we don't have to have, you acting with, could it be nepotism, that you made your brother the high priest? And so he tries to undercut the leadership of Moses. And it's a long story, and I don't want to go into the details of how it plays out, but you should know there's some important points in this, right? Korach seems to be egged on by his wife, and On, who is another character in our story, right, is protected by his wife. And it tells us something about the impact of women and also what happens when the mob rules and the dangers of it. And God creates a miracle to prove that Aaron is the right person for the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, and that Moses' decisions are not about, I'll do a favor for my brother, but rather he's fulfilling the will of God. But this jealousy can eat at a person. It's ingratitude, and that's what it was with Korah. So it's something to be very aware of. But you should know, Korach, in his effort to unseat Moshe, not really unlike Bilam in his effort to curse the Jews, actually blesses them and makes a statement that's absolutely true. He says, every Jew is holy. Why should you be above them? Well, this point that every Jew is holy is absolutely true. And this brings me to the land that they were all heading to, the land of Eretz Yisrael. One of the qualities of Israel is that the instinct of connecting with the divine is something that is not shameful in Israel. It's a curious thing. You know, sometimes we feel uncomfortable about, can I really bless somebody? After all, who am I? Right? And by the way, who is God? Right? What is this about blessings? What is this about feeling there is a divine that's controlling us? We kind of sometimes are uncomfortable with this. But not in Eretz Yisrael. Not in this country. In Eretz Yisrael, Jews are very quick. And I mean Jews who may not actually be, what's the word for it? Observant. Maybe not observant, but they are very connected with the Creator, the ruler of the universe, the Ribono Shel Olam, Hashem. And they don't hesitate to make it part of their daily dialogue. Let me give you two examples, personal examples, because these are things that, unless you hear it from me, you probably won't hear it. 2 days ago, I was on a bus, and I have trouble with my knees. I have a lot of pain in my knees, so it's hard for me to walk. And we were getting off the bus, and I was using a mobility scooter to get off the bus. And a woman got off the bus with myself and my wife, Yelena, and she was very concerned. And she was speaking in Hebrew to Yelena. Yelena loves to speak in Hebrew with people. It's not all that easy for her, but she's learning as she goes forward. She's better than I am, much better. And the woman was saying, well, how long have you been in Israel? 18 months, whatever. And she said, how's your Hebrew? And she said, well, went to Upan. And she said, what's with him? Why is he in this situation? Right? And Yelena explained that he has very bad knees. And this went on for about 5 minutes as we're walking to our separate appointments, the woman and us. And before we got to the end of the street, the woman turned to Yelena and said, you know, I'd like to invite you for Shabbos. Right? We've never met her before. We don't know her. Right? She said, I'd like to invite you for Shabbos. And Yelena said, it would be nice, but, you know, it's a long walk for my husband, so probably we can't do it. But this is a person who wants to connect, right? Why? Because we're all family. Now, I'll tell you another story. We've discovered the best falafel place in Israel, right? Where the falafel is made for a queen. Well, I'll explain it more later, right? At another time. The falafel place is run by guys who are all under 25 years old. Really cool. They can't stand still. They're dancing. They're singing. They're doing stuff, right? No keepers. No tzit-tzit that I can see, right? But it's a kosher place, right? And they're really like into it. Like everything's going on. A lot of kinetic energy. It's really happening, right? Falafel is great. It's really crispy. It's delicious. It's very special. We look forward to going there. And we went there Thursday night, last night, right? And, you know, they're finishing up. I don't even know if they're open on Friday at all, actually. They might be for lunch, right? But a couple of guys in white shirts, kippahs, long beards, come to get their falafel. It's around 8 o'clock at night. And as they're finishing the meal and they're benching, thanking God for their food, right? They kind of bring their food to the counter, right? And the guys, like, really in their early 20s, right, are blessing them for Shabbos. They're giving them brachas. These are the young guys giving brachas to the Rebbes, right? And it was like, you know, it was listening like sometimes Sephardim are really great at giving brachas, and these guys were, right? And I thought to myself, gee, you know, I would never expected this was going to be part of the conversation. You know, It's not what you would have thought of as like religious guys. They're traveling around on scooters, on motorcycles, whatever, right? You know, but they were the ones blessing the Rebbes who had come to visit. I'm telling you, here, people feel the connection to divinity, and they're not embarrassed by it, right? And I think this is part of the very essence of gratitude. I'm come back to this, right? When you know you're connected to the force of creation of the world, you can be embarrassed by it or you can be grateful for it. And if you're grateful for it, you can try to share it with others and make them aware of it as well. Korach said it's a holy nation. So did God. He meant it as a weapon. God meant it as a bracha. In both cases, they turned out to be right. Beware of what you say. Your mouth should be filled with blessings, and blessings should return to you as well. Shabbat Shalom from David Ostriker here in Karmiel, wishing you well and a peaceful Parsha Korach from a Levite. Shabbat Shalom.